Hi Glam Fam, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're a new subscriber, welcome. If you're an old subscriber, welcome. And if you're not a subscriber, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on this video. So today I'm going to be working on this dark, beautiful, gorgeous melanin beauty right here. And I started with trimming her brows, and then I went in to clean her face. I cannot overemphasize the importance of cleaning your client's face before you start working. Afterwards, I went in to hydrate her face with this hydrating spray. Then I went in with my serum from Omari Code, and I just applied that all over her face, massaging it well into the skin using my brush. This is a flat brush. It's a skin prep brush, and it's very good to use to apply your skin prep because it just helps to get your products in effortlessly. And I blended this out into her skin. I didn't realize I wasn't recording, but then this is me applying her under eye moisturizer, and I had already done her face moisturizer as well, so I was just focusing this under her eyes. And then I went in with my Omari Code Hydrating Face Primer, and I applied this all over her face apart from her under eyes. So I gently massaged this all over her face. And please don't forget to use a fan to dry down every step that you do before you move on to the next step. It's very important because all these steps have to, dry down. Each product has to go in and dry out before you layer on another product. So please don't forget. So I gently massaged this all over her face, avoiding her under eyes. Then I went in with my Omari Code Matte O'Clock Face Primer because I'm not trying to have a complete matte look. So I decided to go in with a hydrating primer first before going in with the matte primer because I want a soft matte look, not a full matte look. I still want to have that glow, that dewy finish sort of, if that makes sense. So I just applied this still all over her face and, avoiding her under eyes as well because you do not want to prime under the eyes. Please do not prime under the eyes. I carefully selected her foundation shade because, she's dark skin and it's very, very tricky working on dark skin because if you're not careful, you're going to make them lose their original melanin and you're just going to make them look white and it's not going to be pretty at all. So I was really careful and particular about picking the right shade for her, and I just blended that all over her face and just make sure I did not over apply under her eyes, so I don't have a cakey finish. Then for blush, I went in with my blush and I used this pigmented blush, and in this color I think this is a pink, a very deep pink here. I used this because I wanted it to pop over her skin, and I didn't want to do too much, but at the same time I still wanted it to stand out. So I popped that in, blended it out properly on both sides of her face, and blended it out on her nose, the bridge of her nose, and a little bit on her forehead area before I went in with my concealer. And then I'm using this shade of concealer in Avo Cosmetics. I can't remember this shade, but I'm using this all over her eyes, under her eyes, her T-zone area. I'm just applying that on the places that I need to highlight. I'm blending this out with a beauty blender, a damp beauty blender, not a wet or dry beauty blender. Please endeavor to use a damp beauty blender because you get the best results when you use a damp beauty blender. So I'm just blending this out light-handedly, not heavy-handedly. So you try not to go in with too much pressure because you do not want to take the product away too much. And also using a beauty blender helps to give you more coverage than using a brush to blend your under eyes, your concealers rather. So I prefer to use this because it just gives me the full coverage that I need for my under eyes. And then I'm going light-handedly, not heavy-handedly. Once you go heavy-handedly on your concealer, you're going to lose the product and you'll have to, it's not going to give you that highlighted feeling or effect. So you need to, you know, over apply, and which ends up making your makeup cakey sort of. So you have to, you know, go light-handedly. This gives you the best results, and it just comes out flawlessly, no patches. I went in with a brighter under eye concealer just to pop that color more after blending out the other one. So I just wanted her under eyes to be more popped. You can skip this process if you do not like it, if you don't like your under eyes to be bright, but I do. So I went in with that before going in with my contour on the nose. And since she's already a dark skin, the contour wasn't really showing, and this was like a very dark, you know, color of foundation that I used to contour, but it wasn't showing, so I just left it. And I said, okay, I was going to use a powder to, you know, make that pop more. And I went in with my powder to set her under eyes. This is a routine for me. I don't skip this. I make sure I set her under eyes with a powder. I set the rest of her face with a powder before I go in with my setting powder. So after setting everywhere, I went ahead to powder contour her nose again using a very dark shade of powder to contour both sides of her nose, and I think this gave me better results. Afterwards, I went in with my setting spray just to lock everything in, and this is how her skin looks after the skin work is properly done. I went in with this powder from Maybelline. It's Fit Me powder, and I used it to set her under eye. Sorry, I lost the clip. Then I went in to do her eyeshadow, and I started off with my eyeshadow primer, and I just applied that, popped that right on her lid and blended it properly. Please, you want to blend this very well before you apply your dry product. Do not apply your dry product when you've not properly blended your eyeshadow primer, because it's going to cause creases and harsh lines, and you will not have a flawless eyeshadow finishing. So I went ahead to blend this out from the edges. Rather, I blended the edges out with my fluffy eyeshadow brush, you know, before I went in with my eyeshadow, and I just popped my eyeshadow on the crease. That's my transparent shade. Then I went in with the smoky. So I'm trying to create a pigmented smoky eyeshadow look. Now this look is good for brides, it's good for Owambe guests that want, you know, their looks to pop, their eyes to pop. So that's what I'm doing. And then I blended the black eyeshadow at the outer corners of the eyes, and, you know, just blended it in slightly. I finished off, I did my base, and then I applied the glue for my pigments. It helps your pigments not to fall out, and it helps them stay and stick on and pop even more. So I applied that before I went in with my pigments. I'm using a gold pigmented loose pigment from Candy's Beauty line. Yeah, so I'm using this, and I pop that on to the eyes, making sure that I am blending and I'm not having any harsh lines or it's not messy. And then I went back in with my black eyeshadow to pop the smoky even more. So I just blended that out, you know, and make sure everything was sitting pretty. Then I went ahead to line her eyes and create a very soft wing, nothing too dramatic, but then enough to give her face a lift. Then I smoked her under eyes with the same black eyeshadow that I used on her eyelids, and I smoked that out, connecting it to the wing liner just to create that smudge. And I smoked it and did the same thing on both sides of the eyes before I went in with a powder just to blend away all the excess powder under her eyes. And I just blended that out. So did the same thing on both sides of her face and the rest of her face, blended everything properly with my blending brush. I went ahead to set her under eyes again with a brighter setting powder from Mera Cosmetics in Ginger, because I just wanted her under eyes to be a bit more brighter. So I did this before I went in with my mascara, and I used this mascara to, you know, unclog her lashes, because I was about to use the false lashes. So I used this to unclog and separate everything, and then darken it out, you know, for product fallouts that had been on the lashes and all. Then I went on with my blush. This blush is from CPD Cosmetics, and I just applied that down on her cheeks, the apples of her cheeks, and I did the same thing on both sides of her face. I went back in with my brush to dust off the excess setting powder that I had under the eyes, because this has set to the extent that I wanted it to set. And then I went ahead to spray and seal her face with a Soapro Cosmetics Seal It. This just locks everything in. Then I went ahead to do her lips. I was going for a nudish pink, lips, not too pink, but it's more on the nude side. So I did her lipstick, and then for glow I used my Cosmetics Dew Balm just on her forehead area, because I didn't want this all over her face. And like I said earlier, I was going for a soft matte look, not too dewy, not too matte, just in between. So I just wanted the dew only on her forehead. And I went in with my loose pick glow highlighters on her nose, and then I further set her spray again. And then I did her mascara under her eyes, on both sides of her eyes, and yeah, that's the finished look. And this is what we have, a very gorgeous beauty. I hope you enjoyed this look. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You can leave a comment and tell me what kind of look you want me to create, and I'll do that in my next video. I'll see you. Bye.